Hey guys, this is Grasse with Mega Man Podcast, and today I'm going to talk about how big should your website be. I get that question a lot, especially when people are talking about hiring us to build their website. They really wonder how many pages they actually need. And, it really comes down to your objective. So today I'm going to talk about 5 considerations and 4 different types of websites, in regards to size. So just to start with the categories or size of the websites, we sell basically 3 different types. There's a 1 page, there's a 5 page, and then there's a 30 plus page website. Now, each one of these, has different company behind it, different objective, different product, different services. So we always recommend different things. And budget, of course, is a consideration as well. But I'll kind of break it down. So the 1 page website you get away with most of the time if you have a very simple offering and a single call to action. Like there's nothing that people would need to do except for the one thing to take that next step. So for us, the 1 pagers we've developed has been like recently it's our family yearbook.com. She has a yearbook that she'll create for your family. She's a photographer, and you send her the images and she'll lay it out and make you a very high quality product at the end of the year. So it's very simple to explain, and we could actually fit all the content onto a single page for somebody to take action, which would be basically to just sign up. So that's an example of a 1 pager. Now, once you get to, if she had a bunch of options on that, or she had multiple types of yearbook, or she would do the photography for you, or, if the more complicated you get with the offering, the less you'll be able to explain on a single page. Now, some people will say like, oh no, I can fit anything on a single page, but that page is going to turn into, it's going to be like a mile long. People are going to be scrolling forever. And even if you have jump points where it appears like there's multiple pages, the other side of that is that you can only really optimize a single page for a single keyword phrase. So in terms of SEO, you might have 10,000 words on that page, but you can only optimize it for a single keyword term. So is that going to rank? I don't know, but that's one of the drawbacks of having a single page. Now, a 5-page website, I call this more of a brochure. So if you have kind of static content, like things don't change very much with your business, and you just want to have a nice display, information and some click points so people can interact with the website a little bit, but you're not going to be adding to it. It's not going to change very much. What you see is what you get. So, in that case, I'd say 5 to 10 page website could actually satisfy that. You get your about page, services, contact, FAQs. It has a good amount of content, but it's still not, super interactive, and it's not going to change very much. And so you could get away with a 5, or around 5-page website. Now, the other side, I call this, at this level, your website turns from a brochure or a sales piece into what I like to call a resource. So, ideally, your website is somewhere that people could trust to have the information they need instead of having to go search for it on Google. So let's say, you're a mechanic and you have a website where you've explained 500 issues that any car could have and some general guidelines on how to fix that. Then people start looking to you to go to your website rather than to go to Google and find the information from whoever. That's a resource website. So resource website is huge and never stops growing because that's kind of the point. If you started with 1,000 pages, but you're never going to get to that level in one go because it's just way too much work. So what we do in this case is, kind of categorize the information and make it intuitive in terms of you creating new content. So we'll give you some content types to create. We'll set up a database, and then it's up to you to fill up that database with good information and grow it from there. Another type of big website that we do is for chambers, where you have tons of different businesses, and you have tons of people, and you have tons of events. That's a directory website, and so that's another way to have a giant list of information and become a resource or a content platform. So which one should you do? Again, there's 5 considerations, and I'm going to kind of just list them. They're sort of in order, but it really just depends on who you are, what your industry is. So number 1 is, how much time do you have to manage the website? A lot of people say, yeah, I want to do it. I want to get that organic traffic going. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. But at the end of the day, it's it's a lot of work and it never stops. So even because we build the website and it's a lot of work. There's a million different moving pieces and it's pretty exhausting by the time you get to the okay, it's launch time, and that's the starting point. So if you're exhausted just from building the website, it's going to be tough for you to keep growing it because that was just the basics of getting started. So, how much time do you have to manage it? Do you have, an hour a day? Do you have 5 hours a day? Do you have 0 hours a day and really no time at any point? If that's the case, then yeah, 1-page website or to 10-page website, that's where you want to live, and just focus on, if you're going to do anything online, just focus on your social media posting, because to build the website into a tour de force is going to take way too much effort. Next is, how much money do you have to invest? So, and this isn't just for building the website itself, but it's really for the ongoing fees that are going to be associated with growing a massive database of content, because you'll have hosting expenses, you'll have, maybe graphic design expenses, writing expenses if you're going to outsource that, video expenses, photography expenses. There's a lot of stuff if you're going to maintain a growing dynamic website that you just have to have. Now, if you're able to do all these things yourself, great. Then you're not investing money, but you are investing time. So that goes back to the question number one. Because if you don't have the time, but you still want that research website, then you have to budget it, because as much as you'd like to be involved in it, you might not have the time to do it, and you're going to have to outsource at least some of the components, and that's going to cost you money. So if you don't have the money and you don't have the time, then yeah, just stay with the brochure website. It'll perform, and you could always improve it, and maybe in the future you could grow it. But right now, don't try to make a database of content, because it's too much work, and you don't have time or money to invest in it. All right, next up, do you plan on using paid advertising? This is sort of a budget question, but it's also in consideration to how big you need to make your website. Because let's say that you are not into content marketing, you don't want to generate a bunch of content, you don't care. But you have money. And so you don't have to have a huge website. If you have 10 products that you're selling online, you might need a 15 to 20 page website once you incorporate your contact about, FAQs, terms of service, shipping. There's a few different pages you need, but it doesn't have to be an enormous website. You could get away with 10 to 20 pages. That's not huge if you plan on using paid advertising, because paid advertising will do the work for you in terms of getting you traffic. So instead of having to do all the organic approach to marketing online, you could just spend money, test your advertising. I'm not saying that it will lead to sales, but it'll go a long way to getting you the traffic you need to make money online. So if you're using paid advertising, you might not need 1 million pages on your website. Now, it's always going to enhance the business, but starting out, and whether you want to focus on it and figure it out, if you plan, I'm going to spend $50,000 a month on paid advertising, then you're better off managing how that $50,000 is used than focusing on content marketing and that kind of stuff. So next up, what industry are you in? Now, there are some industries where the expectation is that you have a lot of content. You just can't get away from it because it's your industry. If you're a magazine, you need to have tons of content on the website, because people expect you to have a digital component to your print side of the business. So you have to have a huge website, and you need to plan, budget, and have the time to manage that accordingly. So, the industry matters. Now, some industries, e-commerce too, the number of pages is just going to be related to the number of products you have. So that's going to dictate it rather than anything else. If you're a blogger, if you're a leadership type person, you're going to have quite a bit of content on the website itself, just because that's the expectation. You are supposed to be a resource of information. So if you don't have that information on your website, you're just not going to be considered that. You could have, I'm trying to think of a way you could get away from it. But no, if you expect to be an educational resource, you should have a lot of information on your website. All right. And again, because I've worked with some construction people where they have, these big jobs or maybe government contracts where they don't even look for business because it just comes to them all the time. They're just established, don't need to do it. They could get away with a smaller website because it's to prove they exist, in case anybody looks them up, and it's maybe to show a portfolio. So you might have, 10 projects you worked on and the pictures of the projects. And in some cases, we just do a feed from your Instagram to have that show on the website. So, hey, you're active. Here's what we do. Done. You don't have to have a huge website for that. You could get away with a portfolio brochure website. All right, next up, are you selling services or products? This is a big deal, and I've mentioned e-commerce a few times, but yeah, in e-commerce, you might have 600 products. That's a giant website. That's enough to manage that you don't need to have anything else unless you really want to focus on content marketing and building that community aspect. Then you'll need more pages. But the products themselves are the page count for you. Now, services, I think you need a lot of pages because, especially if it's a service that you might, one, have a lot of competition on, or two, need to explain, then the more content you put on your website, it'll have two sides to it. One, you can get more prospects because you become a resource. Or two, you don't have to pick up the phone as much because your website is doing the operational side of customer service for you. So you don't have to, be picking up the phone to answer a question you've answered 5,000 times. You could do a blog post. You could shoot a video explaining it. You could, post it all over the website, FAQs, and then now your website has more of a value than just marketing. It becomes a operational asset where it's doing at least some of the work for you. And this isn't even getting into the the AI side or the chatbots or things that you could add to the website that will do some of the customer service for you. I just if you just have a big database of information and you say, hey, go here, it'll answer all your questions, then, or it's even for you, so you could just grab that link, send the link versus having to type out an answer every single time. It's I think from the service side, it makes a lot of sense to have more pages on your website. So there you have it. Those are kind of the a few categories of the websites that you might have, as well as 5 key considerations for how big you could expect to grow your website, or how big it might be to succeed online, or be necessary to succeed online. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, you can find out more about me at markdgrasse.com or my business, megamadwebsites.com.